around for a long time, and has had bouts here and there where he absolutely can perform. And Harstem, he's solid. I make no mistake, but he absolutely is vulnerable to players like this. So very curious as to what they're both going to be showcasing here.
All right, in the top right-hand side, our Red Brothers player from the Platinum Heroes. This is ArT.
And representing the Shopify Rebellion over in the southwest side, it is Harstem. But yeah, it's a funny one for Harstem, right? Like, because where does he lie? When I throw him against the likes of a Showtime, I'll always see Harstem do tricky things where he'll be extra greedy or extra, you know, and he can absolutely catch those players off guard and sometimes take maps or even wins. Granted, those players are a bit more solid these days, but when it goes up against these kind of players, some of those risky plays can absolutely bite you in the bum when you're against somebody that, for all intents and purposes, you should be the favorite against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very true, as we do see a couple gates coming on both sides. Harstem is definitely in a weird place as well, because I feel as though to some extent he takes a bit of a step back to become a content creator in this day and age. I don't think he would disagree with that. But then he's still, you know, coming into this regional, he stopped streaming some of his competitions and tournaments that he was playing in to sort of like really focus up. And so, yeah, like he's dangerous. And I think honestly, when you look at ArT having, like, let's say, like, you know, lost to Showtime but beat Night Phoenix, Harstem does kind of land in the middle of those two. So it kind of sets this up to, you know, be a very interesting PvP. All of our PvP so far today have been 3-gate robos, so hoping for something a little bit more adventurous than that as well.
No, definitely. And Harstem, if he is starting to take things, as you say, a little bit more serious, like, I think one mistake that we all make is just because you're producing content doesn't mean you necessarily take the game less serious when it comes to the competition, right? Like, you can still absolutely do both. It just means that not all your time is necessarily focused on the competition, but we've seen that actually do better for players in the past, be it when, you know, Wellmu of old was like, you know what, I'm going to start studying now, so I'm kind of retired or whatever, and it's like, oh, he's actually playing better now, given that he kind of split it a little bit. But if he is saying to himself, okay, I'm not streaming this because I fully want to focus at this moment in time, that sounds cool to me from Harstem, because he's not like, is he? I was going to say he's in his late 20s. He's still absolutely got it in him. He's still a very good competitor. And yeah, when he goes against the likes of the ArTs and stuff in Europe, I do absolutely consider him a favorite. Like, he's still in my head like a top 16 player in Europe.
No, I'm with you. Like, this is one of those scenarios where I 100% agree with you every step of the way. I think, you know, it's not like Harstem is not practicing when he's making content, right? Like, he's still playing. It's just, you know, when he tried to make sure he got as much good practice in as possible heading into this event. And that obviously sets you up in some fun plays. As Harstem's adept will commit through, trying to get scout info. He does not know about the half gold, half blue base being taken. So that is ArT's little bit of trickery to start us off here. As Harstem is expanding himself, getting a robo down. If he tries to play defensive against this, he's going to start falling into all sorts of trouble, actually.
So I just looked at where Harstem's Oracle is lined up here, Wardy, and if he doesn't change that, he is going to spot that kind of mixy base right as it gets up here with that Oracle. So that'll be absolutely gorgeous timing from him. And it looks like that Oracle, in fact, oh my god, it changed location. It actually changed.
Yeah,
it's one of those situations where doing less would have been more.
Yeah, he just tried to get it across the map even more quickly, right? Turn towards the base sooner. Yeah, he just doesn't know what's up. You'll still see no Nexus. You'll see a Twilight Council now. Oh, he's going to see just about the recall happening, so he should know there's a base out there somewhere. And now Harstem, he is building an Immortal. We'll see how aggressive he wants to get. Obviously, initially, this Immortal's kind of set up defensively, but you get a Prism out, you can start poking around until Blink is done. It's a tough timing, but he goes the wrong way.
I was just looking, I was looking at Harstem's perspective there, because I was like, all right, he saw a recall, and it's kind of a 50-50, right? Like, which gold base is he on? Because that's the only time that you're going to go for it. Okay, so he's made the 50-50 call, moved out there. It's like, there's nothing there. All right, it's going to be the other one, right? And it absolutely is. So he spots it about as late as he possibly can, but he has at least used the info, the recall. He knew that it meant something like this. Will spot this going on. And what is Harstem going to do? How is he going to try and approach this? Because he does have an Immortal in the mix here.
Yeah. No, he does indeed. He has one immortal in there. The
High ground.
Stalker's going to shoot. Yeah, okay, that's kind of a cool one. You can hit the probes. Obviously, this base does have, you know, the fact that it kind of points outwards. There's high ground all the way around it. There's even a pylon up here from ArT on the right back of it, but he doesn't really manage to deal with the left side, so now the battery is already drained from healing up the probes as well. Harstem will knock down the rocks and give himself better access. Blink is done from ArT, but let's see if he's going to be able to do enough, as the couple force fields will force the initial blink back. Super battery pops immediately. This way he just back away his Harstem. Of course, you've got the prism for micro as well. I'd say so far he's handling this pretty darn well.
Yeah, he's baited out that overcharge. That's a big deal. He does have a second immortal on the way to this army, which will absolutely help out in this kind of situation. And ArT, this is problematic now. I mean, he does have the opportunity to pull probes if he does so please, which there is a lot of probes on that camp here, Wardy, but so far he's just choosing to take the fight. But is it going to go well for him? Now he's pulling the probes, and now he's blinked forward, takes out the first immortal as well. Harstem slow to the pickup there, and honestly, this is a disaster. Harstem's just left his army to burn.
Yep, absolutely just shut down and crushed. ArT fights back, and Harstem doesn't have... I mean, the problem is now you're playing against Blink, and Blink is just such a good ability to have in PvP. I mean, a good Immortal account can maybe do something against Blink Stalkers, but this is not a good Immortal account. You lost one, the other one just about gets back here. Stalkers want to go after the Prism. I mean, just get the Super Battery, man. You could have shot that down easily by now. Instead, you've done nothing still. Ooh. Finally, we get the Prism, but he lost a lot of Stalkers there. That was a mistake from ArT. You could have had the Battery, and then probably so much more.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Like, there he got a bit overeager, maybe a bit excited, a bit like, oh my goodness, I'm winning, aren't I? And you absolutely were, but that has absolutely brought Harstem back into it, or at least kept him alive, because before that fight, it was 3,000 resources lost for Harstem against 1k for ArT. Now, 3k versus almost 2k here after that engagement. So definitely Harstem won out in that last one massively.
Yep. Absolutely, there's like a couple of mortals hanging around. The blink is coming up, the charge coming through. Oh, Stalker continuing up as well. A couple of Stalkers actually continuing in. As ArT just sits at the front and is going to have, I mean, a few Stalkers, a few mortals continue to come out. So they're just going to begin to move on forward there. I'm just going to be seeing ArT backing it up, taking a couple shots of damage, just trying to stay out of trouble as best as possible.
Yeah, and behind this, ArT supply is climbing, and oh, brazen blink right there. He is going for charge immediately, along with the Templar Archives. I like both those things. If there's one thing that Harstem has a lot of, it's Immortals, which, what's bad against those? Or rather, what are they bad against? Well, not a lot, it's got to be said, but they aren't the best against a lot of charge lots and Archons. Both those units they don't do bonus damage against, and ArT's going to have plenty of them as soon as he can afford them.
Yep, no, he's going to really have, well, just pretty much a fantastic setup. Taking his own expansion, keeping the pressure over these Stalkers, but just setting up well in general. I like that Harstem's getting that Dark Shrine. You know, he needs some way to maybe step back in this game. Dark Shrine might just do it for him. But he's in trouble, man. Like you said, he's going to have, you know, Zealots and Archons to go up against, and his army sucks against that. It really does. ArT is making a perfect transition, and if he attacks, as long as he doesn't take too much damage off the DTs, I think ArT has this one locked up.
The DT thing is definitely going to be rough, though. Like, okay, we've got 2 observers on the map. Let's have a look, see where those are. So we've got one in the
main.
In fact, where was? So one just sat in the main. It's like, and it's proper on location there as well. So cautious, definitely cautious.
Yeah, one on the main, one on the army. So the army won't have DTs slowing it down. There's the first couple DTs warping in. So it's going to be time very soon for them to show themselves. One of them is taking a slow warp in on the far right side of the map, so a couple different directions they'll head in from. There's still definitely potential to cause chaos. I mean, there's not detection on that gold base, for example, so that is a factor. As our units from ArT now make their way around and they begin to poke around at the front here. The Stalker's going to go back and forth, the Observer there. That's going to help a little bit. See what you're fighting into, but Harstem is down 40 supply. He needs these DTs to distract and do a lot, but he's already taken damage himself.
They absolutely are going to distract. I mean, they're dealing damage. ArT pulls away from that gold base over there, and Harstem does get out of that third base with a lot of probes still intact, but if you are in ArT's shoes here, you're definitely more comfortable than Harstem is. Like, Harstem needed those DTs to do even more than they did,
yeah.
Which just shows you how big of a mountain he had to climb, because that army that he's up against is just way bigger than his. 22 charge lots on the field, and you've got 3 Immortals, 1 Zealot, 2 DTs, and 15 Stalkers. I mean, the charge lots can almost win by themselves, which is so crazy.
Yeah, and the DTs needed to do a lot, and that was without Harstem taking damage himself as well. So losing the third, losing his own probes is obviously just real bad for him. As the Zealot, Archon, Stalker Force is just back ArT. Now he's dealt with the DTs a little bit, he's going to just focus on denying this base once again. And you said it, the Zealots alone would probably more or less win this fight. With everything else behind it, it's absolutely more or less guaranteed. Harstem will try once more with the DTs. Now supply block though. And this time I think ArT probably can just attack into the natural if he wants to and just really shut Harstem down. He sees no base on the other side. Again, the DTs are going to move in, but there's cannon set up as well, so it is just going to be more and more difficult to get anything done from that.
Yeah, when you start moving him across the base, it's like, oh no, there's cannons everywhere, and he's got this much. This absolutely is a surprise so far, and ArT with just so much will blink in, get the shield battery overcharge. Look how much red there is. I mean, Harstem is just getting a massive hug of doom on his army. I mean, GG. ArT with a very surprising 1-0 lead here.
Yep, getting himself, I mean, just got the trick off, right? The base was really the catch you out. It was the perfect choice because Harstem expanded himself and then I feel like he played Robo because he wanted to be defensive. And yeah, he turned it into an attack, but it wasn't any sort of like crisp time where it's like, oh yeah, this is where you're weak. Like Blink was basically done already. It wasn't set up to punish, it was set up to kind of defend, and then it was like, oh, well, I guess I'll kind of just try and do something with what I've got. Because he knew he had to do something, but yeah, in the end, just not going to be enough. And ArT does get that 1-0 lead against Harstem, showing that with a bit of trickery of his own, he can absolutely stand up in this best of 3. And now a map away from going to 2-1, which is a really cool scoreline from ArT. Obviously, making playoffs this season for him would be an incredible result. And obviously, 2-1 doesn't make you to playoffs, but it gives you 2 chances to get to playoffs, which is awesome.
You know, I'm thinking like Harstem wasn't. I want to say wasn't caught entirely off guard. Like, granted, he didn't spot it with that initial Oracle because it kind of moved. Then he saw the main base, sees the recall. Then he makes the gambit of like, which base do you have? Moves over to that right one. It's not that. Finally gets C. He gets in that high ground position and starts denying the mining. And I was very curious why he didn't kind of like wrap round further. I know there was like some high grass, but I really feel that that was his kind of window to be like, you know, I have the high ground, Anakin, you know, like that kind of situation. But kind of went down the ramp, killed the rocks. And then the execution of the fight, losing the Immortal and not picking it up immediately, it was just, it all went awry. But I got to say, ArT definitely handled that game very well for himself.
Yep, that's in the top right-hand side. We're into game number 2 already. The Blue Protoss, who will be down one map and needs to bounce it back. It is going to be Harstem from the Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah, spawning on bottom left-hand side, as our red Protoss, it is ArT. Always lovely to see some of the players that have been around for a long time, you know, still absolutely fighting, duking it out. And, you know, if Harstem got 2-0 by ArT, I would be surprised, but he is the kind of player he's been here countless times. Not getting owned. I mean, like, you know, he's been in many best of 3s and stuff in his life. That StarCraft 2's a beautiful game, and that every new game is just another chance to show yourself where you start off completely with a clean slate.
Yep, no, absolutely. Go from one game of StarCraft to the other and look like a completely different player, right? So there's definitely a lot to be said there. You already see that one probe of ArT sneakily moving around on the map and is looking as though it might just build a pylon over here. I thought it might mine some minerals out and go to the bottom side, but looks like we might just get something pretty much to the center, just outside of Watchtower radius.
You know, I've played this map maybe at least like 10 times or so now. When I go through the Watchtower in the center, I so rarely go on this south bit where this is happening, like super rarely, because the natural like trajectory across the map is Watchtower high ground, like you just kind of keep to it. So this spot here, you very often don't go on it, like super often don't go on it. So I really like this this location here from him.
It's just going to be a third gateway as well, so we are just going to power up and maybe a pylon on the other side, maybe even potentially, I mean, look at this. Now he's going to go all the way over here and just sneak around and just, yeah, what's he going to do? He's just going to double check for no proxies on this bottom side. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm down for it.
And what was, like, so Harstem mined out those minerals, then went to made a proxy totally on the opposite side of the map. So
smart.
mind games galore. Yeah. And Harstem is the kind of guy that I used to get so mad at Harstem because I was like, you are such a cool guy and you're my friend, but you play blind as a bat. Like right now, these games, you know, no scout. Like he has no idea what he's up against, but he is absolutely that man in the casino. Just another Kev in the casino, you know, as well with our Rotterdam. But yeah, right now he is just kind of throwing into the wind. I don't know how the saying goes exactly, but yeah, absolutely going for an Oracle again and hoping for damage, but going up against a 3-gate. It's going to get spicy again here, Wardy.
Especially with the battery from ArT in the main mineral line, that really takes away some of the potential power. This Adept still hasn't seen it. Now we're going to see the Stalkers hit, and this Adept, the Adept's finally going to figure it out. So now you see the third gateway, or what you assume is a third gateway, because you should at least know there's 2 gateways in the main base based on the fact there's nothing on the low ground, right? So that's a fairly safe assumption. And again, it is going to be already a battery in the main base. So the first Oracle is not going to have the greatest of times. ArT puts down a Nexus, though. Okay, this is going to get interesting as now the Oracle shows up. We'll have to try and stasis ward here. No, he's actually going to try and burn the battery out of energy. That's the new game plan.
Oh, it's going to be 4 Stalkers against 3, though, in the main base of Harstem. Warp in is about to finish, along with the shield battery as well. And probes, a couple of probes have fell so far, which isn't too bad for ArT. I mean, could have been potential for a lot more if he did not have that shield battery up and ready. But right now, Harstem is not able to get his natural on the location here, whereas ArT is starting that. You see that Harstem, his mineral count, it was up to like 500 at some point there, so he has to whip out a lot of units to secure that natural of his.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and get that coming through as our probe will get down there now. Ready to expand. He knows his opponent expands, so he knows what he needs to do here. And he does still have the tech advantage. You know, Oracle out means that he still has some scouting information. He just finished up the Robo nice and quickly too, so he'll have that on his side. But again, I feel like I like where ArT's taking this, where he's going to be able to gain access to Blink, and having Blink already available, I feel like is going to be really good on his point of view. Blink's just such a great ability to be able to play from.
Oh, and what's happening here? Little skirmishes here. We'll pick off a Zealot for his troubles, and remember, there's no shield battery on the low ground here for Harstem, so he is fighting with the ability to retreat up to that shield battery, but not there on the low ground, so maybe something that Harstem will have to invest in later on in time. Blink also, I like that you say it, Blink also allows you to navigate both sides of this map very freely without having to worry about these mineral walls, which is very helpful against an Oracle like this. And this Oracle, it's done a little bit, but Harstem was definitely looking for more. But all things said and done, Harstem's probe count still absolutely in line with what ArT has. And he did resume Immortal production. It was good, by the way. Once he realized he could go down that ramp, he was like, okay, I cancel my Immortal. I stop building it. Take the Nexus as quickly as possible, then resume Immortal production. So Harstem's definitely done some good stuff this game as well.
Yeah, some good calls. Absolutely kind of taking things in the right direction and just kind of pausing aggression when he doesn't necessarily need aggression, or, you know, defensive units when he needs defensive units, I guess, that way around. He's going to be able to knock down this gateway in the center. That's one less warp in point, and it's obviously one less gateway to warp in from. So that's less Stalkers available. As you do see ArT, just being careful just in case of the attack. He's got the battery coming up. He is about to hit Blink, though. A bit supply blocked right now. Blink out. We'll see if he wants to do anything. He currently sets off a stasis ward, which is nice to catch with just one Stalker, rather than like a whole group of your army further down the line. So, decent victory there. As the Blink is only just now on the way from Harstem, so a while away from that really kicking in for him.
And a nice and early third base from Harstem here, just feeling confident with his army mix, which he's constantly getting good scouting with the Oracle. Like, that's one thing that it's absolutely paying off for. So got the couple of probe kills early on, threatened his opponent, and now it's just working as a scout, and it's doing a good job because it secured him the knowledge that he can take third right there, get his own Blink on the go, and he's sitting kind of pretty here, Wardy.
He is a few Stalkers still around the top side. The Stalkers, the Sentry, the Immortal, going back just a little bit as well. As you see, our unit's just going to sit there, and the Stalkers of ArT fire a couple of shots off, so getting some damage done for a few moments. Not going to find too much overall. As again, that Blink continues up. The Forge is on the way. Nexus coming through. Gateway is building. Everyone is just kind of setting up, and I like that ArT's already starting to get that charge on the way, so really is looking towards the next stage already. His own third base coming up. Unable to really do anything with these two sets of Stalkers, but yeah, he's comfortable. He's not reliant on them. He's very happy to move into charge and everything that comes with that, including the upgrade, which Harstem will match for now.
Yeah, he had a nice big old scout in the main base there. Getting to see that Harstem did indeed have a Twilight Council. So he did that with his hallucination, so making good use there of his sentries that he has back at home, and just confirming what Harstem's actually doing now. Harstem is ahead army-wise. Like, he has 15 Stalkers. Blink is done, which he is now very much aware of. But army, what they go for, right now it's fairly identical, given that Harstem has absolutely caught up and overtaken on the Stalker count. But what is he going to go behind tech-wise for this? Nice little depths here in the third base of ArT, dealing some damage.
Yep, going to get 3 kills already. Stalkers blink across. First depth goes down. The Zealots are going to be there too, so that's going to be 2 depths picked off, but still not before they got a few probes. So that is a nice little catch as Harstem overall has just maintained supply lead. 8 workers up right now, 8 army supply up right now. And of course, he might have been behind on tech with the blink and so on initially, but those things are all catching up and cancelling out with each other. So it really is the worker and the army lead that, you know, sets the tone for the next stages of this game.
And look at this, both of them utilizing the map, both expanding through that location. Now, ArT gets confirmation that his opponent has taken that base, whereas Harstem has kind of wandered over here. I don't want to say blindly, but if he's taking a 4th, you got to think your opponent's taking that 4th as well. And, ooh, nice cancels by ArT there. He was very quick, and all of a sudden, the game is going to start spiraling here, and supplies are about as close as they're ever going to be. And I think ArT, did he spot that blow? Oh, he blinked into the blow. I thought he knew about it.
Yeah, that is rough, because that's actually going to lead you into just so much less damage output here. So your base trade scenario goes a little bit worse. Good force fields on the probes, mind you.
Very good force fields on these probes. And right now, Harstem absolutely the loser when it comes to how many workers have been killed so far. But he is running in here. Will start getting his own kills going on. And where do you go from here? Where do you go from here, ArT? And he's going to start buckling in here on this natural.
I love that ArT's actually really kind of just already got the probes out on the map, though. And I think that's a big deal. Being a step ahead on kind of escape. I mean, Harstem obviously believes he might hold his natural, so he doesn't need probes on the map. But yeah, ArT loses his natural, man. This is going to get a little bit wild. We're going to recall back to the main base just with a few units. Harstem realizes that it may not be that many, and so he actually sticks around to try and fight it. Guardian Shield comes up. ArT's being hurt by his own SimCity right now. The recall onto that main is obviously not fun to play around. The Stalkers blink out. Going to drop a force field as we go, and he's going to recall home as well. So, yeah, wow. I mean, all said and done, army supplies are similar. Harstem is up in workers, but ArT is going to, funnily enough, have a fresher base than Harstem, so he might actually have more income all said and done. It's a really intriguing scenario we end in.
Yeah, I mean, Harstem's definitely benefited from the fact that he's had 2 bases mining this whole time, whereas ArT didn't. Is about to get online again. But Harstem's army was a lot more mobile here, so it felt like he was more ready for this happening than ArT was. And 3 Archons in the mix, I mean, they're good against Zealots, but they aren't necessarily the best against Mass Stalker, given that the Stalkers can kite and blink out of there. So now, Harstem's army just feels a bit better to me if it can just stay mobile.
Yeah, I think you're right, as you're going to see the blink forward here from ArT wants to try and let his other units come through. Archons will blast through the force field at least. The Archons will at least be tanky even against Stalkers, but you can see the army supply definitely heading in further into Harstem's favor. And just getting his 3rd base back online obviously sets him in a good spot. It did feel like ArT at points of this base trade maybe had the upper hand, but has not been able to do anything to necessarily close it out. And it feels as though now Harstem is looking real good.
Certainly is. Upgrades neck and neck so far, 1-0 apiece, but Harstem has started his +2 quite a bit earlier than ArT has, and his army supplies climb, and he's totally clued into the fact that, hey, yeah, my Stalker army is far more mobile than your army, and as long as I utilize that mobility, every fight that happens, I'm going to be the victor. And Harstem playing it a little bit safe, which I don't hate from him, just establishing a new base, a new healthy base here.
Yeah, I think it's fine, right? Just, 3rd base coming up, he's going to be, comfortable in workers, comfortable in army. Even if he didn't know this base was up on the other side, I think it's kind of fine the way he's approaching it. So I like where we're taking this. Let's just have our Stalkers, the Immortal, a couple sentries gathering in. The Zealot in the center is going to go after a Stalker. Got some more damage onto that one.
I like those little moves now. The middle of this map is definitely interesting for me ever since we saw XY utilize it against Oliveira.
Yeah. It's been a fun day for the middle of Alkayani, right? It's been a fun one as the Robo Base comes
Is that
up.
how you say it?
Oh, it's been a thing, Ben.
It's been a thing, it has.
Yeah. Well, it's either Alcyone or Alkyne. Alkyne is apparently, because it's a Greek name, apparently Alkyne is the Greek way. Alcyone is the English way. But then certain people want to say Alkyne, so I will just go with the flow.
I was calling it Alcyone, so I'm totally out there.
Almost as bad as Roddy, which is really.
What did Roddy say?
Well, I don't know how much he was memeing, but he really wanted to call it Alky 1. So, you know.
No, he didn't.
Well,
did he really?
I like I say, I think he was just memeing a little bit, but I also think he didn't have a better way to say it. So, you know.
Oh no, that definitely sounds like a Roddy thing, man. Like one time I cooked him some food and there was a mushroom on his plate. He's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's a mushroom." He's like, "No." I'm like, "What's going on?" So yeah, he's definitely done blunders. Anyhow, I feel this game's really cranking up here. Harstem's absolutely doubled down on the stalkers here, like absolutely has, and he's kind of winning skirmishes here, there, and everywhere. And he's also got yeah, he's got a lot more probes. I've had to double check there, and he's expanding normally. If you looked on his side of things, you'd be like, "Oh, totally normal game, right?" But absolutely not.
Yeah, it took some weird turns to get here, but in the end, Harstem. I mean, you can just see he's winning these fights. He's had an upgrade lead for some of them. Obviously, that's about to even out, but he's also taking this opportunity to get to disruptors, which is only going to improve his army composition. It puts him in that next kind of, step of this game. As our stalkers will continue down through the center here, and we are going to have ourselves the, well, yeah, pretty much just this continued push. He didn't even need to bring the disruptors across yet or anything, just playing with the stalkers for now, and I think he's very comfortable to do exactly that.
I think so too. I mean, some of these engagements are going to be a little bit tricky for him, just because, you meet the brute force of ArT's army, and it's got some of these tankier units in, but he's been utilizing the mobility really well here, and he's kind of resorting back to, I want to say, almost an old school style of PvP, where you start getting like just mass stalker disruptor, but it's just such a good comp, right? Like, and he's comfortable with it. Harstem's been through many eras of different stages of Protoss, and right now, what are Archons bad against? Well, they're not mobile. What are disruptors good against? Very immobile units, and also stalkers, actually kind of everything, but the things that Harstem's doing here, it's just good textbook RTS. Like, he's hunkered down on 4 bases, taking his 5th as well, which is actually going to be a gold base, and he's still putting on the pressure. And here, how do you fight into this choke? It's actually kind of hard to fight in the choke as well, I guess, but Harstem's making it look a little bit tricky, but his supply is still growing.
Yep, his supply is still growing. It's just, I mean, he's just got such a lead, and obviously, maybe pushing through here is not going to be easy. I wouldn't hate him just taking the rocks and taking the high ground position. Then he could also work his way towards his opponent's other base. And then that kind of forces ArT to kind of move into him. So I actually think I'd like that a lot better. Just knocking the rocks down, coming in that direction. Apparently, we're just going to type out game right then and there. He started to lose some probes just in a different mineral line. I think some DTs of Harstem showing up, and he just says GG right then and there.
I respected it. First game he won, and he looked fairly in control the whole time. This game, it was weird, man. It was weird, and sometimes it's just like, why go into a territory where I know my opponent's very comfortable, and I'm just giving them time to be comfortable. Let's get it out of the way. Go on to the final map, which will be golden aura between these. So, yeah, I do. I respect that decision.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun series. I actually really thought in the base, I thought Harstem was looking good, but then the base trade started, and I really felt like ArT maybe had a little bit of an edge. I think he needed to really double down on getting the natural of Harstem, because he kind of recalled home, and his recall was not good, because obviously he then essentially wasted it, because he couldn't like actually fight, right? Like, he had to fight through his main base in the Sim City there. Whereas Harstem, if he maybe just found a way to jump on Harstem's army on the natural, maybe that could have gone so much better for him. Obviously, as we saw in the end, it just kind of all went wrong at that point, so we'll get ourselves ready for this game number 3. Harstem and ArT going the distance. We know this is a big match for them. We can discuss that this might be a fairly even one. 1-1 suggests that has been the case, and of course there's still potential to get aggressive and get really aggro at the start of this game 3 again. So that's the beauty of PvP. You never quite know just how quick this next game's going to turn out to be.
No, you don't. I'm really happy it went 1-1 between these guys so far, though. Like, I'm close with Kev, close with Harstem, but I do know that ArT is a little warrior, man. And very often it's just like, you see these guys go up against the players that they can absolutely tango with, but to see it happen in a competitive setting is just to see. So whoever wins here, happy for the winner. It's just good to see some solid PvP between them, and also some crazy PvP as well.
Yeah, it's not being just standard. It's not just being like a 3-gate robo and, you know, it was well executed and wins the game. That was our PvP earlier today. It's been back and forth. These guys are going to some wild fights. In the top left, tying the series up. Here's going to be our Blue Protoss player from the Shopify Rebellion, Harstem.
And spawning in the bottom right, as our red Protoss, it is ArT. No ramps on these maps so far, right, at the natural. And, you know, I often get to see the weeklies with MaxPax making it quite far, kind of just slaughtering people. And he often opts for the gate expansion, almost regardless of the situation. But everybody else just avoids it. And I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but it's so funny how one player that everybody kind of perceives as maybe the best at this matchup does something, and he's the only one that does that something just because he's the only one that can. You know, it's like very Beyond-esque with the Reaper situation, which is just funny, man.
It is wild, man. Like, I know we've already talked about it once today, but like MaxPax is just like, this map pool is so interesting too because there's like a severe lack of ramps on maps, and obviously with 9 maps, players can really kind of get rid of the maps with ramps as well if they want to avoid like 1-gate expand on 1-gate expand. But then MaxPax just does it anyway on all these maps. It is just kind of a little bit bonkers. So, yeah, very, very interesting. It's gateway number 2 and Cybercore on both sides. For the moment, these guys mirror each other. And we just have ourselves the hidden pylon from Harstem. Doesn't look like he's going to make anything of that. Unless the probe just holds the tower and goes back. But it looks as though he's going to continue around the map.
Yeah, this is one of those games. This is a Harstem special. The no scout, but kind of scouting around, but getting your own proxy pylon going. Yeah, I used to get so, as I said in this series, I used to get so furious against Kevin because he'd absolutely be the guy where I try and trick him with something, and I'm like, hey, scout this barracksless base over here. Doesn't scout it, does something totally normal, and then the thing doesn't work. And I'm just like, God damn it, Kev, you're the guy that I can like literally throw something in his face and there's 0 reaction, and then you just, you know, win anyway. Very, very frustrating. In this game, ArT was just like, you know what? I'm not going to scout you either, and I'm going to do this weird scouting around the map. And he's actually probably going to find the proxy pylon for his troubles, which isn't the biggest deal, but it is a building that you can take out later on when you find the time. And right now, Harstem the one going for a Nexus early this game. Not the Oracle like he's been doing pretty much every game this series thus far. And he's going to be utilizing a sentry for scouting, which, yeah, definitely a bit of a mix-up. And Harstem does finally get a scout, and it's like, oh, there's no Nexus over there. That's interesting.
Yeah, Blink just very quick here from ArT. He will now drop a Nexus down, but is obviously going to have Blink extremely quickly. And Harstem, again, just straight to that Robo. I think, obviously, at this point, just a comfort build for him. Feels safe with the ability to produce Immortal should he feel the need to. Hallucination gets all the way through, doesn't see the Twilight Council, so now, okay, you saw the expand, but you don't see the Twilight. He's not maybe going to know how quick Blink is, and that could make him respond incorrectly here, so something to be careful of.
Yeah, funny how Harstem's very wary of what could be out on the map, eh? And maybe that's because of the first game where there was that gold base location, and I mean there is a gold base on this map over in the southwest side, but yeah, I wonder what kind of history these guys have playing against each other, because they're both very capable on the ladder. And oh, hallucinated probe, what? I tell you, he probably did that just because when you hallucinate a probe, and yeah, he did do that, you get more probes out. So those 4 probes were scouting the gold base at the bottom left. They scout this gateway as well. Beautiful by Harstem.
So silly, but I love it, obviously. As, yeah, he sees the gateway, so now he knows. I mean, he was already on his way to Robo, the Immortal. He was already looking to play safe. As he sits at a 5-worker lead, he's already actually up on army supply as well. Can Blink overcome that when there's an Immortal defensively? I don't know. Think so. I actually think this is looking pretty bad for ArT. Let's see if he can make something happen. If he does get up to this high ground, he shoots that pylon down, he would depower both gateways and the Robo. That would be huge. He's going to go for it, but then he's going to get instantly punished, and he's not even going to get the pylon.
Wow. I mean, Harstem read this like a book, didn't he? He really did. The scouting was really clean by him as well, and right away, ArT gets shut down before he even began this game, and Resources lost out. It's still fairly close between them, but Harstem's army is just better right now, a lot better. And I like the fact that he's getting a Warp Prism as well, just because if you get a Warp Prism, or rather a Force Field on your ramp, it can definitely make juggling up and down a lot more difficult, but also just allows him to save his own units against the Blink right now until he gets his own Blink.
Yep, absolutely. This is yeah, this is going to be the right way to play it. You don't need a third Immortal. A Prism's worth more than a third Immortal when it comes to being able to micro Blink in. I can't say I love that with the Immortals again to whack away throughout. As ArT is going to start backing it up. Again, he has his own expansion, but he's just a few probes behind. He was quite committed to trying to get damage done here. And again, he really invested in that Blink early. He didn't gain anything from that, so this is what Harstem gains for himself. Now his own Twilight finishing, and he'll be able to get his own Blink started, as charge is so fast here from ArT. I don't even think he'll get enough Zealots to make charge worthwhile for quite a time now.
Absolutely. Charge, like, making a lot of Zealots. ArT's play is definitely something that is uncomfortable. Is that some Adepts in the base there?
Yeah.
Nice play out of Harstem again here, just getting quite a lot of damage done, and to soften the bleeding, ArT does wall off, but he's being forced into a super all-in situation here, isn't he? And recalls back home, but to the wrong Nexus against it. Kind of annoying for him. These Adepts worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, 6 probes, it's just expensive. All these probes being running around all this time as well, so there's just so much lost mining time built into this right now. As you do see the Stalkers begin to move out onto the map, and everything from Harstem begin to move out over to the right-hand side as well, so pushing across over here.
He saw the Zealots. He saw the Zealots. That was actually huge. And Harstem's like, oh gosh, those Zealots are faster than any Zealot I can make. Let's get out of here. And oh my goodness, ArT's definitely going to be kicking himself for giving that away a little bit just then. Because now breaking into this Wardy, even with charge lots, that is hard to do.
No, not with the batteries. A force field can obviously keep charge lots as well. Yeah. There's just not really much hope. Harstem is not far from his own Blink. You see a Temple Archives coming in from ArT. He's going to really explore all options, but the reality is that his options are quite limited, and he's just far behind, man. He's down 13 workers. He's not rebuilding any probes. He's just going to wait for Temple Archives. I imagine just one Archon so he can break force fields, and then he's just going to send it and hope it's enough.
Absolutely. Harstem's ahead in supply right now, and he's against an all-in here. Like, just every second that goes by is better for Harstem, and he knows it as well, but he can't get caught out. He did just blink aggressively, and that is a lot of Zealots, and I tell you what, this is about as good a chance as ArT's ever going to have here. One of the Immortals goes down immediately, and that one force field there is working wonders. There's no more shield battery energy left. He has none left, Wardy.
He has no energy for overcharge, man. Like, he doesn't have the Nexus energy, but